Well, good day, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. So glad you could join me. My name is Alton. If you feel like liking and subscribing, go ahead and yada, yada, yada. Today we have another offering from WT Author. Now, this is a watch that I've been wanting to see for some time. I saw it on Instagram or Facebook, and I reached out to them. I said, this is a watch I just got to see. It is so cool and so unique and so out there. And they said, okay, we will send you a prototype, but in the meantime, we'll send you a watch that's ready to go. It's going to be an add-on if you want to buy one of these 1981s. It's called the 1940. I did a video on it not too long ago. Pretty cool watch. Very, very cool watch. You can check out that video at the link in the description, and there's all kinds of info about WT Author. If you want to know more about them, you're not familiar with them, then go ahead and check out that video. But we're not here for this watch today. We are here for this. This bad boy in front of us is the 1981 Black, which they've labeled the Stealth for obvious reasons. Now, I really wanted to see this watch because it was just such a cool aviation, mechanical, almost steampunk design. I just thought, I just got to see something like that. The case shape is very interesting. It's a lot like the 1940 in its case shape, but it's also quite different. So the 1940 has a different edge to it on the corners here. The crown guards are different. This one has no crown guards. I think I prefer this one a little bit more. They're approximately the same size. There's some differences here in profile as well. A lot of overlap, a lot of similarity. The mid case is thicker on the 1980 and 1981 and thinner on the 1940. This has a fixed bezel, whereas this has a rotating bezel for you today. Yeah, so why don't we do a little deeper look at this watch? Now, before we go any further, I do want to tell you that this is a prototype, so I'm not going to review this in as much detail as I normally would. And that's because, well, it's just not quite finished. For example, the bezel is just a little sloppy, and I think that's something they'll fix for the production model. Each of these is built to order, so they're going to put a lot of effort into every single one. These aren't being mass produced. And while these are available for pre-order right now, they will be released in November. So there's a little bit of a wait. I'll explain how they're making that wait a little easier on you at the end of the video. So let's talk about this watch. This watch was inspired by 1980s tactical hardware. And so it's big and it's bold, just like the 1980s. It's got an industrial, militaristic vibe to it, which I really dig. Just invokes Top Gun and jet fighters and 1980s neon target sights. I mean, it just invokes all of those great nostalgic things for me as someone who was born in 1976 and grew up on 80s action movies. It is a bigger watch, but it's not as big as you might think. So it's 44 by 49 by 13 and a half. And you might think it's actually thicker than that, but it's not that thick. It's only 13 and a half. And it wears really well because those lugs turn down. If you put it on a table, you'll see that the case back doesn't actually touch the table. So it just sort of wraps around your wrist. We'll do a wrist shot in a few minutes. It's got 100 meters of water resistance. The bezel is ion plated. It has a red anodized crown and matching accents around the date window. And of course, here with their logo at the 12. Everything else is stealthy and kind of grayed out or blacked out. On the bezel, the markers are not plated, so the markers are actually silver in color. It just works together very, very well. The non-screw-down crown is protected by these big lug guards, and when you pull it out all the way, you can easily set the time. Of course, you want to set it to 10:10, which is watch review time. There's a quick set date, and of course, it hacks and it hand winds. Now, the movement inside of this is a great movement for the price point, and if you turn it over, you can take a look at it right there through their display case back. The case back is screw down. It is a mineral crystal on the back. It is a AR-coated sapphire on the front, just to keep your scratches at bay there. And you're going to have a number printed on the case back to tell you exactly which model you have, 0 through 50. And here it is on my 8.5-inch wrist. And you can see that on a 21 centimeter wrist, it wears very, very well. And that's due in large part to the way that those lugs turn down on the wrist. It just hugs it tightly. And because they're not that long, it's only 49 millimeters lug to lug, which I did measure and verify. And so in some ways, it kind of wears a little bit like a Seiko Tuna, where it does a little bit of magic. You've got a fairly big watch, but it wears really well. And also because that case back and the lower section of the case, it's like a 3-piece case with, if you include the case back, it means that this portion here, what I call the mid case, doesn't actually touch your wrist unless you really flex. So it doesn't feel like you're wearing a heavy watch or a big watch on the wrist. And speaking of weight, this thing comes in at 142 grams on the supplied FKM rubber strap. And that is pretty comfortable and light wearing. It's a little bit top heavy, but on this strap, it's not bobbly in any kind of way. It's just very, very comfortable. In fact, quite surprising that a watch this big and this bold can be this comfortable. So one of WT Author's strategies to ease the waiting time till November, if you purchase one of these watches, there's different ways that they're going to keep you involved in the process. And so they have these sort of bonuses that come along with the watch, some that you'll receive early on and then some that you'll receive with the watch. I would encourage you to check out their website. Just scroll on through and see what they've done. They put a lot of thought into this. Their advertising on this is actually really impressive, the videos that they have. This is what I'll say about this watch. It is bold, it is a bit different, and it's not going to be to everybody's taste. But it is very wearable. If you don't mind a bold design, it wears probably down to a 7-inch wrist, I would think, pretty easily with those lugs, depending on how wide your wrist is. And if my experience with the 1940 is any indication, these watches will be impeccably built. I mean, I really couldn't find a fault on the build quality of the 1940. The only flaw I've found on this prototype is that the bezel is a little bit loose. The action's just got a little bit too much play in it. But again, I see that in a lot of prototypes. So, you know, that cut it a little bit of slack. The lume on the markers glows really nice and bright to begin with, and then it fades fairly quickly. And again, I find that on a lot of prototypes, they don't get the amount of lume that the production model is going to get. So if you're interested in one of these, don't be afraid to hit them up. Ask all kinds of questions. I've been talking with Sam, and he's been really great to deal with. The packaging that this comes in is really cool. Now, the packaging that I got wasn't going to be the production packaging, so I'm not showing it to you. But if it's anything like the quality of the packaging in the 1940, it's going to be exceptional. Right here, you'll see I've got this little wax seal that came on both watches, which I thought was a pretty cool touch. And these guys are in the UK, and of course, those in the UK love a little bit of drama, a little bit of theater. So I've come to expect that from these guys. I hope I've answered all your questions. If I haven't, please leave some questions down in the comments, and either I or someone from WT Author will get back to you. Hey, thank you so much for watching. Hope you all have a wonderful day. Again, please like and subscribe. It really does go a long way to propping up my fragile ego.